Hello and welcome to Starting Points, where one thing leads to another. I've got a couple of examples for you. First one comes from Little Fu. It's a story about Little Fu's journey down the great river of the Yangtze. It's by Raymond Creekmore. And in this account of things that happen, next morning we wait for fisherman and his daughter to catch us some fish. It is the cormorants who really catch the fish. These birds dive into the water and bring back the fish to the bamboo raft, bamboo trees. Once in a while, the little girl takes the collar from a cormorant's neck and lets him eat a fish. So that's how they do their fishing. And since I'd recently mentioned about the river otters and sea otters as being great fishermen, so is the cormorant. Other example comes from sharing things about aquariums. Did quite a little bit of sharing of it. And then I remembered this wonderful, wonderful novel that involves a pet store and aquariums, among other things. And the book is called Tumble Down Dick. It's written by Howard Spring. Howard Spring wrote books for adults, and that's how I encountered his name, and for youths. I'd say this book is for maybe 13s and ups. I got it from a Greater Victoria Library book sale. And at the time, there had been listed here as 4 copies, copy 4. I don't know if there are more than that or not. And now there are none. Now there are none. The book was first published in August, MCM XXXIX, August 1939. September 1st, Germany advances into Poland and attacks the country of Poland. September 3rd, 2 days later, England and France honor their pledge to protect the borders of Poland by declaring war on Germany. One thing leads to another and another. Not a very propitious reader's market for the book to be published in, because most people didn't have much time to read, though reading this book would have taken your mind off of things a bit. And then there was this most curious thing in the book. Someone had typed out a note using those post-it notes that you can stick on a page. Yellow paper with lines, but they typed, "Tumble Down Dick. This is the first book I ever read entirely on my own in my life. 62 years ago in Shanghai, where I was born. It was just before fleeing to Canada in the spring of 1941. A wonderful Christmas time read for young or old!" Exclamation point. Thanks to the VPL, Victoria Public Library, interlibrary loan for tracking it down. Arthur Hughes, December 2002. And I thought, well, this book's got history. This particular book has a history. And there's, like there was a journey here for Little Foo, there's this book's, soon there's a journey involved in this book for Dick. And the reason of the journey, well, my father and old Bowler were there, beginning already to load the wagon for the night journey. And from time to time, other men came from the neighboring gardens with things that were going to market. My father's gardens did not of themselves provide a full load for every day of the year, and so he acted as a carrier for the others. Once the wagon was loaded, it would stand there in the yard till my father got up at about 3 in the morning, harnessed Uncle Arthur, the horse, and began his long, slow journey to Manchester. So they're market gardeners supplying a large city with produce. And he does it on a daily basis. Quite a journey to begin with. It's snowing. It's almost Christmas. And they're going to be staying with his Aunt Maria and his Uncle Henry. And when they get to Aunt Maria and Uncle Henry's place, Aunt Maria said, I'm just going to read a few excerpts to give you a feel for this wonderful story. I hope it'll give you a feel. Sit you down and get a bite of food into you, said Aunt Maria. Well, she would have said it with a different accent. This was the second time I'd heard her say that. I was soon to know that it was one of her favorite remarks. Uncle Henry had no sooner raised a mouthful of his fork than a bell rang in the shop. Their pet shop's on the street, front's the street, and they live behind the shop, their living area, and their sleeping areas up above. He got up reluctantly and shuffled through the glass door. 1 goldfish, I expect, he said like a man who fears the worst. 1 goldfish, 3 pence. He was not long away. 1 it was, he said, letting himself sink heavily into his chair. 1 goldfish. 1 more goldfish, doomed. He blew on his heavy mustache till it lifted over his mouth and then skillfully shot in a mouthful of ham before it fell again. You shouldn't take on so about them, said Aunt Maria. I can't help feeling for them, said Uncle Henry. People got no sense. You now, he added, suddenly jabbing his fork in my direction. Have you ever kept goldfish? No, Uncle Henry, I said, but I'd love to. You'd love to, eh? They all love to. Tell me, how this love of yours would express itself towards your goldfish. Not going to be easier than that, I thought. And I answered brightly, well, to begin with, I'd see that the little things had nice clean water every day. Uncle Henry laid down his fork and groaned. You see, he said, you see, an intelligent child, at least I presume he's intelligent, and he knows no better than to send goldfish to their doom. He looked at me sadly for a moment, then asked, what do fish live in before we start monkeying about with them? The sea? Rivers? Ponds? Well, say ponds, he said. Ponds, I said. Yes, ponds. And does the good Lord change a pond every day? I hadn't thought of it like that. No, Uncle Henry, I said, he doesn't. Very well then. An aquarium is a pond, a little pond, and you leave it alone. The plants growing in it will do all that is necessary. Add a little water every week to make up for evaporation, and your fish will be happy. Change the water every day. He looked at me scornfully. Your Uncle Oswald here has been telling me of your gallivanting with Lady Mayoress this morning. You went into the refrigerators. Yes, Uncle Henry. Well, tell me this, he said, pointing a finger so that all the snakes on his arms seemed to be slithering towards me. What would happen to you if some fool kept on shoving you from the warm air up above into the cold air of the refrigerators? In, out, all the time. What would happen? Pneumonia, I dare say, I answered, feeling very subdued. Yes, said Uncle Henry, blowing his mustache out triumphantly. And that's how goldfish are doomed. Out of water that's been warming in a room all day, bang into cold water from the tap. Don't you ever think of the shock to their poor little systems? That'll do, Henry, said Aunt Maria. How beautifully warm it is in here. He's gone into the front pet shop, I exclaimed, for the shop was as cozy as the kitchen. A big electric radiator glowed and flickered as though the black lumps in it really were burning coal. Of course it's warm, Uncle Henry growled. What about my dogs and cats? What about my birds and fish? Can they be happy if they're cold? And isn't it my business to see they're happy? There was one great fish, nearly a foot long, with silver markings on his sides. And from this monster down to the tiddlers that measured no more than a couple of inches was every sort and size of goldfish. For goldfish can be of a great many sorts, variety, diversity. I had not known this till Uncle Henry began to talk to me about them. Finding that I was really interested in his precious fish, he became more talkative and almost cheerful. Tropicals now, he said, all very well to look at, lovely if you like, but trouble. Not like these. These chaps never give me a moment's anxiety. That's the goldfish. But all the time with tropicals, you got to watch the temperature of the water. Not too hot, not too cold, to say nothing of keeping a lookout for cannibals. Cannibals? I exclaimed. Well, Henry explains, but I'm going to skip over that to move back to here. He says, but looking at them all that morning under Uncle Henry's expert guidance, Tom and I saw that they were as varied in their beauty as trees in a wood. What's that, the fish? No, it's all the different kinds of plants that are put into the aquarium and the beauty of those plants. And he realizes they're as varied as the trees in the wood. So I wanted to share that sentence with you. Now, let's see what's next here. Of course you would, said Alf. If the sea covered the earth, every blinking thing would be under salt water. What about the freshwater fish? What about the trout and roach and grunion, to say nothing of sticklebacks and minnows? Could they live in salt water? No, sir. Old man Noah had to look after them all. And then there's parts in about 2 chapters in the back dealing with ice skating, chapter 17 and 18. The ice is firm, and I'll come back and mention that. Probably won't read from, but I might. And when we get to looking at ice and ice skating and hockey in a different video. Darky and Company is a grand story, dog story, Darky being the dog. Howard Spring wrote, and Oxford Children's Library had it in their Oxford Children's Library collection of titles. I really enjoyed both of these books, and I have located Samson Circus, University of Victoria's Library has got a copy of it. So I'll be getting it the next time I go there. Well, one thing leads to another. Thanks for joining me. Until next time, bye for now.